Halfway through the race, Belmondo had managed to eke out a comfortable cushion over Gildo and was driving smoothly. Warnier had moved ahead of Bourillon to claim third place and was starting to try and find a way around the Mercedes. A mistake by Gildo saw Warnier make up more ground, and the battle for the minor placings was beginning to look interesting. Behind the frontrunners, there was plenty of action. Drivers in the Trophée Andros do not shy away from physical contact, and the odd mistake also saw cars make contact with snowbanks that lined the circuit. With Europe in the grips of one of the coldest winters in recent memory, conditions were tougher than usual, but Belmondo appeared to have everything under control. Race distance was running out for those chasing Belmondo. Barring mishaps, the Opel Astra driver, who's the son of film star Jean-Paul Belmondo, appeared to have the race wrapped up. Although Gildo was holding on to second place in the Mercedes, he was still under pressure from Bruno Warnier in the Citroën AX and Paul Bourillon in a Volkswagen Golf Rally. For Europe's leading motor manufacturers, the Trophée Andros is an important shop window. Apart from the Drivers' Championship, there's also a Prestige Manufacturers Award. In terms of Trophée Andros regulations, body shells must conform to standard showroom specifications, with only minor aerodynamic modifications allowed. After the early pressure from Gildo, a workmanlike performance from Belmondo saw him romp away with proceedings. The latter stages of the race saw Belmondo in a position where pressure from behind was the least of his worries. All he had to do to make certain of victory was eliminate the sort of mistakes that are so easy to make in Trophée Andros racing. Belmondo duly completed a comfortable win, with Gildo second, Warnier third and Bourillon fourth. The man to watch in the B finals for those who qualified between 11th and 20th was reigning Trophée Andros champion Danny Snowbeck in another Opel Astra V6. Other drivers to watch were the BMW pair of Marcel Tarret and Bertrand Ballas and François Chache and Bernard Daniche in Megas. The Mega driven by François Chache was in pole position, but he was slow off the line, and the BMWs of Marcel Tarret and Bertrand Ballas immediately slipped through to hold down first and second as the car set off on the opening lap. Snowbeck was also a little slow off the line and was in fourth place in the Opel Astra. The leaders were closely bunched, with Marcel Tarret holding off BMW teammate Bertrand Ballas, who was weaving all over the circuit as he held François Chache at bay. Inside the cockpit of the leading BMW, Tarret had a clear circuit ahead of him, but behind there was plenty of pressure with a tremendous race in the offing. The BMWs were still making the early running. Tarret led from Ballas, with Chache tucked in behind in third place, with Snowbeck fourth. It was spectacular stuff as the drivers threw the cars into the corners. In these situations, car control is all important, and the slightest mistake can spell disaster. To illustrate the point, Christophe Deschevin overdid matters in the second factory Opel Astra and lost valuable time. Up front, the race had settled into a pattern, with the first four cars on the circuit pulling away from the rest of the field. There was some close racing from the midfield runners, but they were steadily losing ground. Yves Geny did little to enhance his chances when he put the Citroën AX on its side. While race officials came to his aid, Christophe Deschevin was having to take a few chances to make up lost ground after his earlier mishap. In the leading BMW, concentration was the name of the game for Marcel Tarret, who was not interested in what was going on behind him. Marcel Tarret was still holding off BMW teammate Bertrand Ballas in what was turning into an enthralling battle. Behind the BMWs, François Chache had his hands full with keeping Danny Snowbeck at bay. Christophe Vaisson was holding down fifth place in the little Citroën AX, with the leading bunch having opened up a sizable gap over the rest of the pack. It was spectacular racing as the BMWs continued to dominate. With race distance rapidly running out, Schasch, Snowbeck and Vincent needed to pull something out of the hat to get past the two BMWs. Both BMW drivers looked to be in control, and for the situation to change, they needed to be forced into errors. The abandoned Citroën of Evgeny, still on its side, was a constant reminder to the rest of the field of the disasters that can so easily happen in Trophée Andros racing. As the laps ticked away, Francois Schasch started to put a great deal of pressure on Bertrand Ballas in the second BMW. Schasch knew he had to come up with something out of the ordinary and was doing all he could to produce a mistake from Ballas. The battle up front was intriguing and it developed into a tremendous race. The crowd was kept on tenterhooks as lap after lap, Marcel Tarret and Bertrand Ballas grimly kept a determined Francois Schasch at bay. Reigning Trophée Andros champion Danny Snowbeck was also not out of the picture, but behind him he had Christophe Vincent breathing down his neck. There were no team orders in the BMW camp, and it was each man for himself, where leader Michel Tarret and second place Bertrand Ballas were concerned. Ballas was still weaving from side to side at speed, but he couldn't find the opening that would allow him to snatch the lead from his teammate. Schasch, Snowbeck and Vincent were poised to pounce on any mistakes from the BMW drivers, who'd led the race from the word go. The two BMWs of Tarret and Ballas, the Schasch Mega, Snowbeck's Opel Astra and the Citroën AX in the hands of Vincent made for a high-speed snow train as they continued to fight it out. Inside the BMW, leader Tarret was being made to earn his keep in the BMW squad. An enthralling race finally ended with the status quo unchanged. The BMW pair of Marcel Tarret and Bertrand Ballas led from start to finish, with Francois Schasch third and probably kicking himself for his poor start to the race. Fourth and fifth went to Danny Snowbeck and Christophe Vincent. Yet another former Grand Prix driver, Patrick Tambay, was on the grid for the start of the A-final. Other well-known names in the lineup included rally star François Chatriot and race driver Michel Fert. The A-final consisted of the first 10 drivers in the qualifying session, with action aplenty expected. The Megas of Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache were on the front row of the grid and led away the field. Patrick Tambay, with his Mercedes fitted with the race cam, found himself in the middle of the pack with François Chatriot, Michel Fert and Jean-Pierre Malcher all closely bunched together. A race cam was also fitted to the BMW driven by Philippe Bugalski, who soon locked horns with the Opel Corsa driven by Michel Fert. While the midfield runners went about sorting themselves out, front runners Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache were being chased by the Opel Astra of François Chatriot, with Patrick Tambay fourth in the Mercedes 190. Philippe Bugalski had got the better of his early duel with Michel Fert and was back in fifth place. There were also no team orders where Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache were concerned. The two Mega drivers were out on their own, with Gache soon letting Chaumard know that he intended taking over the lead. Chaumard was having none of it, and when Gache tried for the inside line, firmly shut the door on his teammate. Chatriot was waiting to pounce on any mistake by the leaders, and with Tambay also well placed, an interesting scenario had developed. It was soon obvious that a race-long battle was going to rage between Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache. The two Megas appeared to have the legs on the Opel Astra driven by François Chatriot and the Tambay Mercedes. From Chatriot's point of view, the tactics were to try and put as much pressure as possible on the leaders and hope they forced each other into costly errors. The pattern for the race had been set in the early laps, with Tambay and Chatriot in pursuit of Chaumard and Gache. After 5 laps, the halfway mark, Chaumard led from Gache, Chatriot, Tambay and Bugalski. Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache are both accomplished rally drivers, and the little 2-litre Megas are potent machines. Power is supplied by a 16-valve Ford Cosworth turbo engine, and even in Trophée Andros conditions, they are nimble and sure-footed. Francois Chatriot in the V6 powered Opel Astra and Patrick Tambay in the 190 Mercedes could make no impression on the leaders. While Chatriot and Tambay grimly kept the two Megas in sight, there'd been a change where fifth place was concerned. Michel Fert had finally got the upper hand in a tremendous battle with Philippe Bugalski, but he still had plenty of leeway to make up if he was going to catch Tambay. As for Chatriot and Tambay, a mistake from either Chaumard or Gache appeared to be their only hope. As the laps ticked by, Chaumard continued to hold a slight edge over Gache. The gap between Gache and Chatriot remained constant, with Tambay in a safe fourth in the Mercedes 190. Gache was always looking for the opportunity to sneak up on his teammate, but could never get quite close enough to try and outmaneuver Chaumard. The first four cars on the road had opened up a sizable gap over the rest of the field. Michel Fert in fifth place was followed by Philippe Bugalski, with Jean-Pierre Richelmy in seventh. An expected challenge from Jean-Pierre Melcher in the Citroën AX never materialized, and at the front of the field, Chaumard and Gache were dictating matters as they pleased. With time running out, both Chatriot and Tambay realized that desperate measures were needed if they were to break the stranglehold the two Megas had established on the race. Chatriot was starting to throw caution to the winds, and from time to time would close in on Gache in second place. Chatriot's only problem was that he could never get close enough to catch Gache under braking. All he could hope for was a mistake that looked more and more unlikely as the race progressed. If there was to be a change up front, it looked more likely to come from Gache. He was constantly on the lookout for opportunities to sneak up on teammate Maurice Chaumard. It was a cat-and-mouse game, but the advantage was always with Chaumard, who was driving smoothly and keeping a cool head. With the race entering its final stages, the order was unchanged. Maurice Chaumard led Mega teammate Philippe Gache. Third was Francois Chatriot in the Opel Astra, with Patrick Tambay fourth in the Mercedes 190. Michel Fert fifth in the Opel Corsa, and Philippe Bugalski sixth in the BMW. Jean-Pierre Richelmy was still seventh, but all the interest was focused on the leaders, with Chatriot and Tambay forced to make a final do-or-die effort to catch Chaumard and Gache. With only 2 laps to go, Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache had only to avoid off-road excursions to make it a 1-2 for the Mega team. After dominating the qualifying races, the pair had stamped their authority on the final from the drop of the flag. The Thorens circuit is one of the longer tracks on the 7-race Trophée Andros circuit, and the Megas were reveling in the conditions. Behind the two Megas, the never-say-die Chatriot and Tambay had not given up hope of catching Chaumard and Gache. The experienced Chatriot was giving it everything he had, but still could not get close enough to Gache to force him into the all-important mistake. Where Chatriot was concerned, there was another problem. He had to protect his back from Tambay, and in trying to catch the leaders, risked a costly mistake. With the race moving into the final lap, the order up front was unchanged. Maurice Chaumard led teammate Philippe Gache, with Francois Chatriot third and Patrick Tambay fourth. With only a couple of turns before the checkered flag, Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache were all but home and dry. It had been a tremendous performance from the pair, with neither driver putting a foot wrong. A superb performance by the Mega team and a good start to the Trophée Andros circuit for Maurice Chaumard and Philippe Gache. Third in the A final went to Francois Chatriot, followed by Patrick Tambay and Michel Fert. Overall honours on the day went to a delighted Chaumard, with Francois Chache second and Philippe Gache third.